Every morning before the town fully wakes, the bakery lights glow soft and yellow against the dark street. The ovens hum like something alive, breathing heat into cold air. The owner unlocks the door half, a sleep flower already on their hands, and that is when the shadow appears outside the bakery stands. A dragon. It is enormous, its body curved to fit the narrow street. Its wings folded tight like they are trying not to take space. Steam drifts from its mouth, not fire, just warmth. Its eyes reflect the bakery light, steady and patient. The town pretends not to see it. Windows close faster, footsteps change direction. Shops delay opening and parents pull children close. Fear moves quietly through the street like a second fog. The owner freezes. Every first morning this happens. Hands stop moving, heart beats louder than the ovens, but the dragon does nothing. It does not roar or scrape the ground or demand attention. It simply waits. The owner watches from behind the counter. The dragon sits with care, as if afraid of breaking something. Its tail curls inward politely. Its claws rest flat against the stone. There is something almost familiar in the way it waits, like a regular customer who arrives early every day, like someone hoping not to be turned away. The smell of bread grows stronger as trays slide into the ovens. The dragon lifts its head slightly, not hungry exactly, but hopefully. Memory stirs in the owner, long mornings, learning the rhythm of the longer nights, when the bakery was the only warm place left, waiting to hoping someone would open a door. The dragon meets the owner's eyes through the glass. There is no threat, there only patience, only the quiet courage of showing up again. The owner does not scream, does not call anyone, does not close the lights. They keep baking outside. The sky lightens inside. The bread rises, and the dragon remains, waiting not for destruction, not for fear, waiting for something warm to exist in the world again. By the time the sun lifts over the rooftops, the dragon is still there, not closer, not farther, just present. The street begins to move again. Carts roll past, and doors crack open. People glance and hurry on, pretending courage. The owner works faster than usual. Hands press and fold, dough with focus meant to quiet the mind. Yet every movement is aware of the shape outside the window. The slow rise and fall of the dragon chest. The bell above the door rings for the first customer. A regular who pauses when they see the dragon. Eyes widen, breath catches, but nothing happens. The dragon does not turn. The customer steps inside, buys bread, and leaves in silence. The world does not end. The owner notices how careful the dragon is when birds land nearby. It shifts so they are not disturbed. When a cart passes too close, it pulls its tail in tighter. This is not a creature claiming space. This is something asking permission to exist. The owner carries a tray to the cooling rack. Steam curls upward, thick and comforting. The dragon breathes in deeply, its eyes closed for a moment. That is when the owner sees the shaking just barely there beneath the scales. A tremor that comes not from strength but from holding something in. The owner remembers cold mornings waiting for work, standing outside locked doors with hope wearing thin. How hunger feels quieter than pride. Another customer comes, then another. Each one stares, then softens. Whispers replace panic. Fear begins to loosen its grip. The dragon remains still through it all, trusting the door to open again, trusting the warmth to continue. The owner wipes their hands and looks out once more. There is a choice forming, not loud but steady. Something about routine and kindness and risk. The oven timer rings, bread is ready. The owner turns toward the door, heart steady now, and takes one step closer to the truth, waiting outside. The door opens and the bell rings, soft against the morning air. The owner steps outside, holding a loaf still warm. The street goes quiet, as if holding breath. The dragon does not move its head, lowers slowly, not in demand, but in respect. Heat rolls from its body, gentle like a shared fire. The owner sets the bread on a small table by the door. Hands shake, but the motion is deliberate. Then they step back. For a long moment nothing happens. The dragon watches the bread, as if unsure it is real. Then carefully it leans forward. Claws avoid the table legs. Teeth tear the crust with surprising restraint. Steam rises and mixes with the dragon breath. The smell of grain fills the street, richer than before. The dragon eats slowly, as if savoring more than taste. People peek from windows. A child laughs once, before being hushed. Someone across the street lowers their phone. The owner notices the dragon. Eyes soften, not wild, not greedy, grateful as the last piece is eaten. The dragon sits back. It does not ask for more, it only looks at the owner. Up close, the truth begins to surface. Scales are uneven in places, the hide stitched and patched. The smell, beneath smoke and bread, is human. The dragon breath stutters. A hand presses briefly to its chest. The owner understands without words. This is not a monster. This is someone wearing strength because weakness was never safe. The owner nods, once a promise, made silently inside the bakery. Another loaf slides into the oven outside the dragon, waits again, not alone anymore. The street exhales, routine resumes, and something fragile and brave settles into place. A beginning shaped like trust. The next morning, the dragon arrives before the ovens wake. Mist clings to the street and the air is sharp. The dragon sits closer to the wall, making space for passersby. It keeps its head lowered like a great thing. The owner notices immediately something has shifted. Not fear, not comfort, but expectation inside the bakery. The rhythm feels steadier, hands move with confidence learned over years. The dragon shadow stretches across the window. It feels less like a warning, and more like company. A woman stops outside, holding a basket. She watches the dragon for a long moment, then she sets a scarf on the table beside the door. She does not speak. She walks away lighter. The dragon stares at the scarf. It touches it once with careful claws, then wraps it around one arm as if it matters. Word moves through the town without announcement. Fear loosens its grip. Curiosity takes its place. The owner brings out another loaf. Then another, not because the dragon asks, because it feels right. The dragon never eats all of it. It breaks pieces and sets them aside. Birds gather. A stray dog waits patiently. The dragon watches them eat. Something like relief settles into its shoulders. Later, a man approaches with tools. He says nothing. He fixes a loose shutter nearby. The dragon nods. Once the town begins to breathe around the dragon, as if it has always been there. As if the space it occupies was always empty before. The owner sees the truth more clearly now. This is not a threat waiting to happen. This is a story, trying to end differently. As the sun climbs higher, the dragon remains. The bakery hums, and the street feels warmer than it has in years, not from fire, but from people choosing to stay instead of run. That evening, the bakery closes later than usual. The sky fades into deep blue and the street grows quiet. The dragon rises for the first time with effort, slow and careful. The owner watches from the doorway. When the dragon begins to walk, the owner follows at a distance, not hiding, not rushing, just there. They move through narrow streets and forgotten paths, past boarded shops and cracked signs. The dragon knows this route well. It stops at an old factory near the edge of town. Windows, broken doors bent inward. Inside there is light. The owner peers through. A gap. Blankets line the floor. A kettle rests on a small burner. Photographs are taped to the wall. The dragon removes its headpiece. Hands shake as metal and leather come away. A man stands there, scarred and tired. His skin is marked by burns, old and new. His eyes carry the weight of being unseen. He sits slowly as if the costume holds him together. The owner understands now. This was never about bread alone. This was about being remembered. The dragon suit rests beside him, not armor but shut. Owner does not speak. They leave quietly, but they do not leave the truth behind it. Follows them home, warm and heavy, like responsibility, like hope. The next morning the bakery opens to the soft hum of ovens and the familiar shape waiting outside. The dragon sits exactly as before, but now the owner knows what lies beneath. The person inside is no longer a mystery but a story, etched in scars. And quiet courage. The owner sets a loaf on the table and watches. The dragon does not eat immediately. It pauses as if considering, then carefully picks up a piece, chews slowly. Savoring more than just the bread. The town begins to notice subtle changes. People stop whispering behind closed doors. Children peek from windows. Some dare to wave. The dragon does not move abruptly. It only tilts its head in acknowledgement. The owner begins baking extra loaves without thought. It becomes a rhythm like breathing. One for the shelves, one for the dragon. A small act of care that stretches farther than the street. Inside the broken suit, the man shifts. The weight of it pressing down. It is both armor and prison. Bread is more than food. It is comfort. It is proof that someone remembers, that someone still cares. The dragon breath warms the street in winter. It blocks the wind with its long tail. Neighbors leave notes, small drawings, treats for both the suit and the man. No one asks questions. No one intrudes. The town has learned patience at night. The owner follows him again through empty streets. They never speak, but the man pauses. He lifts a hand briefly in thanks. The gesture is enough. The bakery becomes a beacon. Not for fame, not for spectacle, but for belonging, for the fragile act of showing up day after day after day. And the man inside the dragon. He waits not for fear, not for admiration, but for kindness. Something that had been missing for far too long. Every morning the door opens. Every morning the loaf is set outside. And every morning the dragon waits, not as a creature of legend, but as someone who finally trusts the world enough to keep hoping. Weeks pass and the routine grows stronger. The owner bakes extra loaves every morning. Without thinking, the dragon waits as always, but now there is a small crowd of quiet observers. People come slowly, children first, then parents, then neighbors. No one speaks too loud, no one rushes. The dragon eats calmly. It breaks bread into pieces and sets some aside. Birds gather carefully. A stray dog waits patiently. The man inside watches their movements with careful eyes. Every small gesture is noted, every act of trust recorded. The bakery becomes more than a place to buy bread. It becomes a place to witness kindness. People leave notes, drawings, sometimes small pastries. The man reads them slowly. A smile touches his lips. A laugh comes quietly, once the first in a long time. The town begins to protect him. Shutters are repaired, sidewalks cleared, a path made safe for the dragon to arrive each morning. No one interferes, no one questions. They have learned the rhythm of respect. The owner notices how the dragon changes. Its patience grows steadier, its presence calmer. The townspeople begin to trust themselves more. They see that fear is not the only choice. At the end of the day, the man removes the costume carefully. He stretches muscles stiff from holding it too long. The bakery lights glow warm behind him. He is not alone anymore. Someone understands. The owner looks at him once and nods. No words are needed. The loaf is already ready for the next morning. And the dragon waits not for bread alone, but for the small acts of care that make a life worth returning to every day. The dragon becomes more than a visitor at the bakery. It begins to help in ways no one notices at first. When storms hit, it stands by doors, keeping shutters closed. Its breath warms the street, making paths easier for those who walk early. It moves silently past shops, fixing what is loose or broken. People feel safer without knowing why. The man inside does not speak much. He lets small gestures speak for him. A shove of a fallen sign, a careful lift of a fallen chair. Every act unnoticed by the town, but carried in the memory of those it touches. Children leave drawings and treats and sometimes sit quietly on the curb. The dragon watches them and sometimes lets them feed the birds. Never rushing, never taking. The owner bakes more than bread, now cakes, and pastries too, always setting one aside for the dragon. It has become a ritual, a rhythm of trust and care that moves through the morning, through the street, through the town. The townspeople start to accept the presence of the dragon. Fear is replaced by curiosity and quiet admiration. No one disturbs the man inside the suit. No one questions the routine. They understand somehow without words. At night, the owner follows him again through empty streets. The man removes the suit briefly to stretch. They exchange a glance. Something unspoken passes between them. Trust, gratitude, understanding. The bakery glows in the morning. The dragon waits. The street feels warmer, not from fire or threat, but from small acts of kindness and the quiet bravery of someone who shows up again and again, not for reward, not for recognition, but because someone finally believes they belong. Morning comes, as it always does, with soft light spilling across the bakery windows. The dragon waits outside, calm and steady. The owner carries a fresh loaf to the small table, hands steady, heart steady. For the first time in a long while, the man inside lifts his head slowly. Scars and sweat and quiet courage visible in the soft light. He reaches for the bread carefully, not hurried, not greedy, just present. The townspeople begin to gather silently. Children peek over shoulders, neighbors pause on the streets. Everyone senses something changing, not a story of fear, but a story of belonging. The dragon does not eat all the bread. It leaves pieces for the birds, the dog, and sometimes for a stranger passing by. Its presence has become a shield, not of fire, but of trust. The owner watches him closely, finally seeing clearly what has always been true. The dragon waited outside, not for bread alone, not for attention or fear, but for kindness, for the simple act of being remembered. The bakery becomes more than a place to buy bread. It becomes a place of refuge for anyone who feels unseen, anyone who carries scars, anyone who hopes for small gestures to matter. The man inside the suit breathes easier. He smiles quietly. The town breathes with him every morning. The door opens every morning. The ovens breathe warmth. Every morning the dragon waits, and for the first time, it waits knowing it is safe, knowing it belongs. And the owner understands fully at last. The dragon is not a creature of legend. It is a reminder that patience, trust, and small acts of care can rebuild what was broken, that everyone deserves a place where they are seen and remembered.